Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining this live episode of the Chair Chat. This is our second chat of the year, and I have a wonderful guest. We're going to talk a little bit about immigration, and we're also going to talk about her transition into law school and her journey through law school. But first, we've got to give a special thank you to our sponsors. Want to give a thank you to Torque Law, who is our legacy sponsor. Um, Torque Law was voted best lawyer 10 consecutive years in a row. Thank you so much for sponsoring our convention in Las Vegas, Nevada this January 23rd and 24th. So make sure you save the date and keep an eye out for the room blocks and all the information and speakers that will be coming up. So, as I said before, amazing, amazing attorney that I'll be meeting with today. We're going to talk about the future of immigration and what that means, what this administration is doing, and what it means to the practice of law in the field of immigration, but also just kind of talk about, as a business owner and having her own practice, what that process was like. So, without further ado, we are going to bring on the very amazing Flavia Santos Lloyd. Thank you so much for being here and for meeting with me. I know that our schedules are really crazy, but I really appreciate you for making it happen.
No, thank you for the invite. I'm really excited to be chatting with you. I admire you and your work. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. I'm flattered. Um, so I want to start off with telling me a little bit about your experience in going into the legal field because, like me, who kind of took some time off from academia, like you took a non-traditional way through law school. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, I did everything backwards. So let me start with I'm an immigrant, right? So I moved to the US 27 years ago. I came to spend 1 year. My major in college was Portuguese and Russian. I was supposed to be a Russian scholar. Okay, so that was my whole thing. I was supposed to be in academia. That was the whole goal. And to make a long story short, when I came to the U.S., I ended up overstaying my visa, and it took me years to get my documents. And when I did, my the job that I got when I got my work authorization was at a law firm, and I was the receptionist, the assistant, I was the legal secretary, then I became the paralegal, then the paralegal supervisor. So before I became a lawyer, I was in the legal field for 12 years as a paralegal. So I've been in immigration for 23 years now.
Wow.
So in all different capacities, and that's why I say that I can do everything in a law firm. If I have to do the mail, I'll do the mail. If I do the reception, I will do the reception, because I it was back ended and I was getting the work done, and I loved working with the clients. I loved winning with the clients, and I was just like, well, maybe law school is not what I planned for life, but I love doing what I do.
Mhm.
So to make I just say that I'm an accidental lawyer, but I love what I do.
That is so cool, and I really appreciate you for sharing that. Tell me, like, when you were in law school as a non-traditional student, if you're speaking to other students who might be thinking about going to law school later on in life or a non-traditional student, what word of advice would you have for them?
Go for it. Go for it. That's a sentence, not a word of advice. But here's the thing. It was challenging because I had a good job as a paralegal. At that point, I was seasoned, I was managing people, and, taking the bar, you don't know if you're going to pass the bar the first time. I was a single parent. I did, so everything was, stacked against me. But at the end of the day, I was just like, you know what? I am going to be old no matter what. So, because I was self conscious about my age, I was self conscious about being the old person in the classroom.
Mhm.
But, at the end of the day, it made me a better student. It made me more focused because even though it took me forever, it took me 5 years to finish school because I was working. I had a very demanding job, and that was a compromise I had to make. But so the answer is, if that's something that it's a desire that you have, and it's something that is burning, go for it. That there's no, you'll find a village of people and support system and people who really want to see you succeed.
I love that you shared that it took you 5 years because a lot of us are trying to rush through this process.
Mhm.
We're looking for the 2.5 JD, trying to get it over with as fast as we can, taking summer, figuring out how we can take summer classes. But I think that there's something to be said about really taking your time through law school and really taking in the experience and just looking at where you are and what you're trying to accomplish. But now tell me about your firm. How many attorneys do you have working for you? What's that like?
So, the same way I'm an accidental lawyer, I'm an accidental business owner. I opened the business to work less, allegedly. It was a long story too, but now I have a boutique firm, so we are 12 attorneys and total 55 support staff. I just recently promoted someone to partner, so that's exciting because I can see the legacy, I'm building. I started the business in 2016, and it grew significantly. I'm an accidental entrepreneur, and with that came challenges, right?
Mhm.
Because I know, you go to law school and you know how to practice law, you know how to work on cases, but management and business development and money and P&Ls are a whole different skill set that I realized really fast I
Mhm.
had to be acquainted with to be
Mhm.
successful.
How did you learn those things? Like,
Oh, I do executive ad. I am the queen of executive ad. Okay. I did management courses at Berkeley, at Harvard, and I am always taking some sort of, design thinking, organizational leadership. I just recently got a mini MBA at the London School of Economics because it is a necessity. I need to know what vertical and horizontal integration to see if it makes sense for me to do things in house or outsource them. But again, those are needs that I realize that, I can delegate, but I need to be educated enough to have a productive conversation with my team.
wow, every time I talk to you, I learn something new. That is amazing. Like, I am completely blown away running a business, being a mom, and you still have time to like get all of these degrees and all of these certifications. Like, and I don't think that we think about, oh, we want a business. And myself growing up in a family owned business and then having my own business and then having friends that have businesses, there is this idea that you start a business and you're a business owner, but that doesn't necessarily make you an entrepreneur unless you can walk away from your business and people are still working and you're still making money. Otherwise, you just own your job, right?
I
And
love that. You just own your job. I love that. I'm going to borrow that.
so it's like if
Own your-
somebody who's interested, we're talking to future attorneys, but we're also talking to current attorneys that might be working for someone right now and they're looking to go out on their own. What are like maybe the first two or three classes that you would recommend that they take?
Well, normally when you're opening your own firm, the first thing that you're concerned is about financial security. So, what I did, because I did not have a budget, I did go to the SBA office here in Orange County, and they have mentors. And they have free mentors. It's not going to be a long term project, but they pair me with a retired attorney, and he got a yellow notepad, and he kind of went through some checklists of what I should be thinking about malpractice insurance and trust accounts. And of course, I knew some of these things from law school, but it was nice to have organized meetings and schedule sessions to have that individual. And the first thing I did when I had 10 cents in my bank account was work with a business coach.
Mm,
Not a coach, not nothing against coaches in the sense of marketing, but I wanted someone who understood numbers to
mm.
walk me through business growth and planning. So the first thing someone needs to do is to understand the business side. Because you can be a great lawyer, but you can be a terrible business person. So go into your local SBA or programs like Goldman Sachs 10,000, I don't remember the name of it, but they have it at Long Beach City College, where they basically walk you through, for several months having a business. And it's a free program. You just have to commit to it. So, looking at those resources to learn business first before you go out on your own, I think that's key.
So it sounds like you mentioned a lot of math, and there's this running joke that attorneys go to law school to stay away from math. How much of what you do actually involves math?
Let's start with I hate math. But I also know that, it's part of life. So I just have to face my fears and deal with it. But yeah, a lot of my job, especially being the managing partner, is looking at numbers and data and, statistics because immigration is a flat fee business. So, for me to be profitable, I need to track time. And for me to know what my profitability is, I need to be able to see how much manpower I'm spending on that particular file, how much it's costing me. And I use consultants, I use people to interpret that data, but I have to be interested in it if I want to be in the business.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's math.
Yeah, there's math. So overcoming your fears, which is leads me to my next question. When you were on the verge of starting your firm, what fears did you have to come aside from math? Like what fears did you have to overcome? What did you have anxiety about in opening up your own firm?
And nobody would hire me.
Mm,
That's an easy one. I was like, oh, nobody's going to hire me, or I'm not competent enough, or I don't know enough. And I opened my firm, relatively as a young lawyer, but I had 12 years as a paralegal beforehand. I can imagine a young lawyer really, green opening a firm right away. That is scary. But to me, my biggest fear was not being hired and not people not wanting me ugh, and not being able to pay my mortgage because I was
yeah.
a single parent. So I was like, I gotta put that kid through college.
Yeah, my mom was actually one of those lawyers who just came out of law school and started her firm right away. And she tells me like these really crazy stories of her first client, and she called the judge at home on Christmas Eve to try to get her client out. But my family is from a small town, and everybody knew her as the flower lady because she sold flowers on the street corner to pay her way through law school. So luckily, the judge knew who she was and kind of, gave her deference, but I can't imagine my first case calling the judge at his house on
On
Christmas
Christmas
Eve.
Eve.
That's a crazy woman. Um, so I really appreciate you sharing all those things about your career with us. This is going to help law students who are thinking about starting their own practice or having their own practice, but as well as lawyers who are already in the practice of law and maybe thinking about moving out and doing something of their own. But now I kind of want to switch gears a little bit because as an immigration attorney, I can only imagine how difficult this time is for you. And in some ways, we might think business must be booming right now, but that might not actually be the case. What is happening to the industry of law for your practice for immigration?
That is the biggest misconception people have. Oh my gosh, you must be so busy. Business must be booming. And the reality is no, for two reasons. Number one, I have a boutique firm, but my specialty it's called extraordinary ability. So I work with entertainers and sports in immigration space. So if a band comes from Brazil, where I'm from, and they want to perform in the U.S., that's the kind of work I do. Or a production company wants to film a reality show here. That's the work I do. In my space, that has completely halted for two reasons. Number one, people are afraid of coming to the U.S. They are just afraid to come. They are afraid that they will have problems at the airport. They are afraid of getting, searched and discriminated against. But the second point is people are not selling tickets because when you have a foreign event, right? So you have, Peruvian Independence Day. What is going to happen? A lot of Peruvians are going to congregate, right? And people are thinking, well, ICE is going to show up at those events and people are going to be arrested. So the producer is not going to be able to sell tickets. The talent is afraid of getting deported. So it created a chilling effect in that space. But I can give you another example that really impacted our clients and our businesses. We do what's called investor visas.
Mm.
And if the tariffs change every day, How can you invest in the US? How can you open a company? How can you say, hey, I'm going to put, 500,000 and open a business or $1 million? There's so much uncertainty that people say, hey, maybe 6 months, maybe in a year, we'll see what happens. So, so that was the first part of the answer. And to complement and finalize here, the second point is a lot of the deportations that are happening, a lot of the detentions that are happening, people don't have the time for due process.
Mm.
There's not even time for a lawyer to intervene. So, yes, there's a lot of people getting detained, but a lot of times, by the time the lawyers contacted, the person is on a plane somewhere to a third country they've never been to. So I think that's a big misconception that we are flooded with work. We are, but not in the sense that people are thinking that business is booming, because that's not correct. It's booming in a sense that it's busy because it's miserable as far as the changes that are happening, but this crazy volume of work is not really there.
You really just blew my mind because I never even thought about the paperwork and the hoops that people have to jump through to perform, entertainers and reality TV shows to come here. In a perfect world, what was that process like? I mean, how long does it take? What do you have to do? This is a whole, you're like,
So, for example, let's do a comedy, a comedy person, a comedian, sorry, a comedian who is coming to the US and they're going to be doing the US tour. I work with a lot of tours. It takes about 3 to 4 months for the person to be physically in the US with their crew or themselves. That's a good average. Sometimes we can do it a little faster, sometimes we'll take a little longer, but it's a good average of 4 months if the person is going to do their US tour, or if the athlete is going to come. And, I'm Brazilian, so I do a lot of jiu-jitsu and other martial arts. But, it used to be something very normal, which is not happening now.
so they wouldn't be able to come here, like, and just show up and do
No,
their little job and do their
no.
little gig and go home. They've got to.
Let's say they were here on a tourist visa, which is the normal one to go to Disney or to go to a business meeting. But if they are earning money, that means you need a work visa. And
Mm-hmm.
even if you're getting paid in a foreign country, because that's a big misconception, people think, oh, no, they're just come to the US, but we're going to pay them in country X.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're still performing the job in the US, therefore, you need a work visa.
What kind of restrictions do they have when they get here? Like what? I mean, I know there are a lot, but what, just high level, some of the larger ones are things we might not think about.
They have a limited amount of time. So basically, my tour folks, if we said that they have 5 shows, they're here for 5 shows, and they have a 10-day grace period. That's about it, after their tour, so they can go sightseeing. They cannot, establish residence. They cannot benefit from, like long-term loans and things like that. They get a social security because they're working, but it's a very limited scope of what they can do. And let's say, oh, I want to, drive an Uber tonight and make extra cash. No, if you came here to sing, you're here to sing. So it's
Mhm.
very limited.
So you're almost like an entertainment lawyer as well.
It's kind of funny because again, another accident in my life. So I got into the entertainment and sports field by accident too, because I used to do the deportations, the asylums. I was that kind of immigration lawyer. And many years ago that changed. I still have lawyers that do this in my office, and I do screening for deportation cases and for detention cases. But it changed to the entertainment space, and it's fun. It's fun. We work with tattoo artists, we work with movie openings and artists and painters. The staff loves it too. We go to movie festivals, so it's pretty fun.
That's the cool thing about the legal field is that there's so many like just niche types of law that you can practice. I literally have never thought about this type of law. And when I was talking to you and you said you did immigration, I thought it was like the asylum work. And as I'm talking to you, my audience and myself, we're learning so much right now. So I really appreciate that. My next question is about how you keep up with these changes. Like where do you go to figure out what's happening and making sure that you're guiding your clients in the right direction?
It is very difficult right now because literally every day there's a new memo or there's a new change. And there are two sources that we use. I'm a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. I'm actually an elected director of the organization, and I do a lot of volunteer work for them. But they publish something called AILA 8. So every day you get the 8 most important things that happen in immigration law that day. You get in your email
Every day.
every day. So that's something that I look at it every day. I might not read everything every day, but I can skim and see what I need to read. And then I have one of our attorneys read the whole week, and she does a digest on Fridays. And then on Mondays, we start with the summary of what happened the week before. So the entire staff gets an email, AILA updates, basically a summary of what happened the week before. And that's why we have to. And I also have a chat in the office saying that's called mandatory reading. That means you have to read this if you want to be competent.
Mhm.
Just because every day there's a new memo and there's a new policy or a new case law that is just negative for what we do.
What are some of the things, if you have this come out every day, that means it's been a busy week. So that's 40 things a week. So what this week alone, what is something that has kind of stood out or within the last 2 weeks?
Oh, a whole bunch. How much time do we have? Uh, so yesterday, the government announced that they're going to look into 55 million visas to see if folks have some more sort of violations or opinions that go against the U.S.'s interest. And opinions are very concerning right nowadays. I tell my clients to be very careful with what they say and what they post and what they like,
Mhm.
because social media is one of the easiest ways nowadays for the government to, use that information against you.
Mhm.
So that was number one. Yesterday, with 55 million visas, they're going to be. But they're saying we will revoke your visa if you're not in line with what we believe in.
Wow.
Second thing is the expansion of discretion. Basically, the officers are more empowered to deny cases that they didn't deny before. So basically, adds an element of fluff and
Mhm.
feelings because they use very broad language in the memo. That was the day before yesterday. Uh, last Friday we had. I'll mention the last one. The naturalization process. This expansion of what good moral character is. Before,
Mhm.
if you didn't have a crime, you paid your taxes, and you lived in the U.S. for a certain number of years after you got your green card, you could become a citizen. Now it adds a layer of, your educational level. What are you going to contribute to the
Wow.
U.S. and your, opinions. The opinions are very concerning for immigrants right now. What your opinions are and what kind of volunteer work you do. Again, subjectivity that was not there before. And I can go on. There's a lot.
Wow, that just really seems invasive, right? Like, what are your opinions about certain things? Is, whether you volunteer. And it almost reminds me of some of the things that Black people endure when they were trying to vote, right? Like, you got this poll tax and,
Yeah.
these tests that you need to pass and everything that makes it really difficult for people who are law abiding citizens who maybe even have their family here. They spent a majority of their life here, and now everything is being upheaval. How can they protect themselves? Like, what can people do?
It's a difficult answer, a difficult question to answer because nowadays it's like a big net and it's whoever gets caught in the net. Before, I could tell with certainty, listen, if you are a law abiding citizen, if you don't have a criminal record, if there's some checklists that we could go off. But nowadays, it's more, you've seen U.S. citizens get detained. Naturalized citizens are concerned. And, some people think it's high, people are overthinking, but the direction things are taking especially now with this effort to denaturalize people. So I'm a Brazilian citizen, but I became a US citizen. So I have dual citizenship. One of the memos of the 20,000 memos that we've been getting since January is this effort to take citizenship away from folks, which is something that was very difficult and very, I mean, you have to have like genocide level kind of stuff,
Mhm, mhm,
as you
mhm,
should. I mean, if you were a really bad person, you and you lied and you misrepresented, of course. But it's just this expansion. So the answer to people, I think, just be aware and also use reliable information.
mm,
There's so much misinformation for one side or the other that it becomes really confusing. I'll give one example of that I saw on social media yesterday. It was circulating among attorneys. There's one particular influencer that got that memo that I talk about, the discretion that basically gives the officer an opportunity to just deny cases. That's what
mhm,
it says. And spun it. And it's like, oh, now you can, this is going to be easier. And the way he said it, the way he presented and how he carried himself, it looked real, but
mm.
it's not true. So you need to know where you get your information from. I think that's the number one. If I could give one thing, is be careful with your sources.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
are you listening to a licensed person? Or are you listening to a consultant who
Mhm,
does not have a license and is trying to get money on clickbaits?
mhm. Yeah.
So in the immigrant community, it's the misinformation, just like during the elections and
Mhm,
this
mhm,
misinformation
mhm.
campaign, it is active in different segments of our society.
Yeah. So there are immigrants from all over the world, right? You've got immigrants from Eastern Europe, and you've got immigrants from Africa, and you've got immigrants from Asia. I know we see a lot of this is pointed at people from South America, but are people from other countries seeing this deportation process? Is some immigrants, some different types of immigrants seeing this more than others?
Absolutely. So I'll start with a disclaimer that this is not because I'm black. Okay, it's data. There are statistics. If people want to check this out, go to BAJI. It's called Black Alliance for Just Immigration. It's a great organization that has amazing data about Black immigrants and the disproportionality of how things, with Haitians, with Africans, from different countries in Africa, how they are treated differently. I mean, they're a subsect of a subsect of a
Mhm,
subsect.
mhm,
So there's a lot of data at Baji, and again, they're amazing because it's objective. And again, just like I was saying about the misinformation, or the American Immigration Council, again, another great source. So yes, there's a lot of problems for Black immigrants, African immigrants, and it's disproportional
mhm,
for arrests, for detention, for length of detention, for deportation orders. Statistically, you can look at those trends. And yeah, South Americans and Black immigrants are just in a bad space right now. Not saying that doesn't happen to other ethnicities, but Black and Brown are the focus.
So I've got two more questions before we go. One is about students. So students that are either here from another country or students that are children of immigrants. Like, you know, what should they be aware of, or what should they stay away from, and where does it leave them?
If you're here on a student visa, and again, this sounds completely backwards in 2025, you have to be careful about what you say. I am not telling people not to become advocates. I'm not telling people not to fight for people's rights, but they have to do knowing the consequences because speech is being curtailed. And when you are here on a student visa, it's much easier to revoke that status
Mhm,
than if you were a US citizen or, well, green card holders are also in trouble right now. So if you're student visas, be careful with what you post. And if you are going to do so, talk to legal counsel beforehand because you need to understand what you're, hey, listen, I might get detained. If I write an op-ed that is controversial, I might be in some immigration detention center without a release date.
Mhm.
Immigration is not criminal in the sense that there's no 48 hours for release. You can be detained indefinitely. So you need to be aware of those things. And if you are children of immigrants, I told my son the other day, really quick parenthesis, I was really frustrated about what's happening, right? And and not that he didn't care, but he wasn't as upset as I was. And I said, do you understand that if you were born today, you possibly would not be a US citizen because at the time that you were born, I was undocumented. Therefore, you could, the benefits that you have, your social security, your passport, your free transit, becoming a US citizen, you possibly would not have this if
Mhm.
birthright citizenship is attacked.
Mhm.
So it's, it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
So the children of immigrants, help your parents. Make sure that your parents have a plan. Do
Mhm.
they have passports? Do they have a power of attorney if something happens to them and they're here undocumented? Who is going to pick up little Johnny at school?
Mhm.
Who is going to have access to the bank account? Who is going to, you know, it's just like doing state planning. I don't like talking about that, but I had to sit with my husband and a lawyer and put everything down.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's the same idea. It's preparing for the worst and hoping for the best. And I know it's not a positive message, but it's a realistic message.
And this leads me to my final question. What can people who are citizens, people like myself whose parents have been here for centuries, what can we do to support, protect, and help immigrants and people whose ability to stay here might possibly be threatened on the line?
There are a few things. So, number one, amplifying the message, caring. Because it's not my problem, it is all of our problem. It's a fight that is actually for all of us, because it starts with the immigrants and then it just broadens, and we can see what's happening in the sea. It's the homeless. It's just not an individual community's problem. So amplify that conversation. I love when I see people who are born here, who are different races, and they are amplifying this. Number two, if you're a law student or if you're a lawyer, volunteer. Okay. A lot of people are getting picked up at their immigration hearings. They're misled by the government. They're saying, well, we're closing your case. You're not being deported anymore. If you are a layperson and you don't understand the system, you think, oh my God, this is great news. And then you leave, you don't have immigration status, and ICE snatches you.
Mm.
So we need people at the courthouses educating the people, not giving legal representation. I understand there's a line, so there are trainings for this kind of things, just to give people their rights before they go in. Say, no, I don't want my case dismissed. I want to fight this, because it doesn't sound it's counterintuitive.
Mhm. Mhm.
Number three, donate. Donate to ACNU, donate to all these organizations that are doing Baji, all these organizations that are really doing good work.
Mhm.
$5, $10 make a difference. It's we need more attorneys, we need more support. So communicating, volunteer, and donating. Those are the three things I would say people really need to get out of there and just help this, because society needs. We need
Yeah.
hope right now.
Thank you. I think that is a great note to end on, just giving some action items to take away from this conversation. This has been like an enlightening 30 minutes. The time goes by so fast. There's so many things that I want to ask you about, but we only have a little bit of time, and maybe we can come back and have a conversation again about the whole know your rights. What are those rights? I would love to see how we can share that information and get it out, because one of the things that I worry about is the fact that slavery is technically still legal in this country if it's punishment for a crime. And I just am petrified thinking about this administration trying to use that clause in the 13th Amendment to enslave people again.
At this
So
point, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like in the back of my mind. I'm really concerned about what's happening, because it does affect all of us. It is all of our fight, and we do need to figure out a way as minorities to come together and band together and really um, stick up for each other. So I want to thank you so much again. This has
Thanks
been
for
really, really great, and definitely my audience. I'm sure they appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you again soon, maybe catching some coffee, that dinner that we never got to have because we both have crazy schedules. Uh, but hopefully we can make it happen. I just want to say thank you again.
Thank you so much, Elena. It was a pleasure. I just love talking about this stuff. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
All right.